Who doesn't dream about someone knocking on their door and offering thousands of dollars simply for being at the right place at the right time? That's exactly what happened for Craig and Julie Sautner in Dimock, Pennsylvania. An agent from Cabot Oil and Gas offered them $10,000 for mineral rights to their 4 acres. The family agreed, feeling reassured because all of their other neighbors had also signed, and it was a legitimate company which was endorsed by their state. Hydraulic fracking is a drilling method used to access natural gas. While it has been under intense scrutiny in states such as Texas and Pennsylvania, Idaho has just recently been tossed into the fracking conversation. Today I'm going to persuade you to learn more about House Bill 464 and ask you to contact your representatives to demand that they protect you and our state from embarking on a fracking journey with irreversible and permanent effects on our environment and our livelihood. Gas prices are ridiculous, and I understand being immediately attracted to the idea of tapping into a cheaper domestic fuel. Being energy independent has been a conversation for decades. I can empathize with those that are eager to jump behind something that could potentially free us from our dependency on foreign oil, as well as boost our local economy. However, we cannot afford for them to not get it right the first time. Many people have been skeptical from the beginning about fracking. Some may have seen the documentary Gasland and already have a strong opinion against the process. I'm going to reiterate the concerns and encourage you to become involved in the conversation. Yes, fracking could give us cheaper and more accessible natural gas. It also could give us contaminated water, poor air quality, unexplained health problems such as headaches, muscle contractions, blackouts, and cancer. I'm going to explain to you what hydraulic fracturing is. I'm going to discuss the results of fracking in other states, and I'm going to tell you about our local legislation which has opened the door to fracking in our community. Hydraulic fracturing or fracking is a drilling method used to access natural gas stored within rock shale. In a typical fracking operation, pressurized water and chemicals are injected into rock formations to release trapped natural gas. The drill bit is able to turn 90 degrees and bore horizontally for up to 2 miles, which allows better access to gas deposits. The water is mixed with sand to keep the fissures propped open, and chemicals and lubricants are added to allow the water to pass quickly through the pipes. The water that's used to access the gas is then considered wastewater and is removed and stored to be treated. In our article written by Jack Edwards in Energy Litigation Journal from last fall, entitled Government Studies May Determine Future Fracking Regulation, it states that shale gas production increased from 6% to 29% from 2006 to 2011. Rapid growth was expected to continue, and by 2035, it was anticipated to be double that. In 2004, the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency declared fracking posed little or no threat to underground sources of drinking water. They are now reconsidering their conclusion. With any new procedure, there are unknowns. For example, how much pressure can the rock take, and how can it be ensured that the fissures won't enter our aquifers? On any job site, there are risks. We have learned from other catastrophes, such as the blowout in the Gulf of Mexico, that pipes can and will explode. The greatest concern, however, is with the removal and transportation, storage, and treatment of the wastewater from this process. Geochemists have found that fracking is also contaminating groundwater with naturally occurring radioactive compounds such as uranium. These naturally occurring metals in shale rock are chemically bound to the hydrocarbons which make up natural gas. Dislodging them from the rock puts the water at risk. This wastewater is then siphoned back up to the surface and is either disposed into evaporation pits or transported by tankers to treatment facilities in your town. It's not treated as radioactive material. Legislation continues to be sent to Washington to grant the EPA oversight of fracking. When you consider the location of some of the larger drilling sites and consider their immediate access to drinking water supplies, it highlights the question of why drilling companies are currently exempt from portions of the Clean Water Act. The Marcellus Shale, for example, is located above the Delaware River watershed, which supplies drinking water to over 17 million people in Pennsylvania and New York. Early exploration in Idaho showed little promise for wells. They initially tested areas near the Wyoming border, and they were largely unsuccessful. Recently, however, they have found sites on the other side of the state, our side of the state, which seems suitable for fracking. This past legislative session, House Bill 464 was written by the Idaho Petroleum Council, limiting local restrictions relating to oil and gas, and also granting counties little input in planning and zoning. Details on this bill, which was signed and made into law by Butch Otter in March, can be found at www.legislative.idaho.gov. The question isn't whether or not we should explore alternative means of energy. We should. However, we need to be educated. We need to be responsible. We need to get it right. As citizens, we need to be engaged and demand that regulations happen before they frack. There are alternatives that are being tested right now. For example, tests are being made with liquid petroleum gas instead of water to break up the rock. LPG converts back to gas while underground, making it almost 100% retrievable, whereas water is almost 50%. That seems worth waiting for. Regulation means that there is a governing body monitoring the progress and facts. I, for one, am not comfortable with the industry that will benefit the most financially making the legislation and regulations. On the Saunders land back in Dimmock, drilling began in August 2008, less than 1,000 feet from their drinking well. A month later, their tap water was brown and murky. It was undrinkable. When they called Cabot Oil and Gas, they were told that there was no way that the process could have contaminated their water. The Pennsylvania EPA tested the water and revealed that it had high levels of methane, the main ingredient in natural gas. When methane evaporates from water and concentrates in enclosed spaces, such as the basement of the Saunders home, it can suffocate people. It can explode. The Saunders home could explode. Before you go today, I put some pictures of ice water, and as you help yourself to a glass of Boise's frack-free water, think about how important regulation is to you. I've left contact information for your district's representatives, and I encourage you to ask the questions and be a part of the conversation. And you should ask yourself, how do you think that the gas and oil companies that propose that we don't regulate the fracking process here in Idaho, how would they answer the Saunders little boy when he asks his mom every night when she tucks him into bed at night, do you think we'll wake up tomorrow?